Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Let's wait for one more minute for people to join, and then we'll get started. Meanwhile, Lariel, I understand you're having issues with the connection, the wireless connection.
Yeah, but it's gonna be all right.
Let's hope it holds. Otherwise, it's going to be a very interesting webinar. All right, let's get started. Hello and welcome to the Agent0 welcoming our new Observability Overlords webinar. I am Michele. I'm head of product at Agent0, open telemetry maintainer, and unrepenting nerd. And with me, I have Lariel.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lariel. Yeah, also nerd, and yeah, I'm very excited about AI. I've been working with Agent0 for a while. Yeah, I'm looking forward to share a bit of Agent0 with you.
And when Lariel says I've been working at Agent0, she has been the mastermind of our agentic AI efforts for the past 1.5 years, if not more. So, what are we going to talk about today? Turns out a whole bunch of things. We're going to talk about all things Agent0, and this is going to be a rather unconventional webinar. Instead of doing a very polished product presentation, we are actually going to, it's going to feel a bit like a podcast with slides. And we're going to keep the slides very minimal. And we are going to unveil, as we talk through the material we prepared, um, what is Agent0, how it works, how we have been building it, and some of the lessons learned, and where do we want to go next. We would like very much for you to interact with us. We're going to keep a very sharp eye on questions that you may put in the Q&A section. And yeah, let's get going. So every observability webinar starts with the question of why are you doing this? And the answer is infallibly the fact that something is waking you up deep in the night and wants you to fix stuff. And this webinar is not different. But something that we hope we can communicate to you is a hopeful future when in reality is not a machine that wakes you up in the middle of the night to fix stuff, but it's a machine that while you sleep fixes the problems that would have otherwise woken you up. And this is why we build Agent0 so that you can sleep at night. So specifically, what is Agent0 besides a very cool name? It is the agentic AI inside Agent0. And maybe instead of talking a lot about it, how about we show you? So let's see if we can get it done quickly. What you see here is one of the views in Agent0 with our beloved outlier map. And I'm going to show you something from our development environment. This is not shipped yet, and therefore this is a very unconventional webinar. Imagine that you find a selection with a certain amount of red. In Agent0, the golden rule is that red is bad. So you want to figure out what it is. Now you can make a selection, ask Agent0. It will already prepare effectively the query, including context, so additional information. This will come up later in the webinar when we start discussing how Agent0 works.
Yeah.
And yeah, Lara, do you
It's
want to
also
drive us through?
important to mention that when you selected that, it already shows which agent should reply to you since you're asking about traces.
We're getting there about our dramatis personas about agents. So as you see, there
All right.
is agent Agent0 is going to automatically go and investigate what is going on and give you pretty detailed information about what the issue is. This is the most complicated use case of the OpenTelemetry DEM application, and Agent0 has told you exactly what the problem is pretty quickly. In very agentic AI fashion, it also asks for follow-ups that you can immediately click and get more information on. Maybe, Larry, we want to do something a bit more daring. What about
Yes.
for a dashboard?
Yeah, let's go to dashboards.
Now I will show my absolutely terrible typing skills, and I'm sorry for this.
Without typos.
The
No,
catalog
it's all right.
service.
Agent0 understands your typos.
Yeah, but I am still not forgiving myself for that. For the catalog service, focusing on red metrics. Let's try this. Bloop.
It's also important to highlight what's going on while Agent0 is processing your answer. So you can see with each step what tool was called. So if you look into the list below, you see it's getting instructions and then finding the service name, then finding the available metrics. If you click on any of these, it opens up a panel on the side where you can see basically what data the agent is seeing. So this is not a black box. You know step by step what data the agent is looking at, and you can look at it yourself. You can also take this data somewhere else, like to the query builder, to the trace view.
This
But
is
click on.
the reason why we're doing this is because agentic AI needs a very important property, and it is explainability. You should not only have to trust it, but you should be able to replicate the steps and be convinced that the analysis method is sound. And we are endeavoring to explain you the steps that Agent0 does using the same visual language and capabilities that you can use yourself in Dash0. In some ways, we're building Agent0 to be the ultimate Dash0 power user. And we're going to talk later also about some of the nice effects that this additionally gives us in the way we are building the product.
If you
We
click on the
also have some parts
videos.
that were not implemented yet. There still is something that we keep evolving every day. And now the question, the results come in. Oops.
Whoops. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There is the dashboard. And,
So this is in JSON. This is the YAML of Persis. Oh, the dev environment is not having a good time today.
yeah.
Now I am offered to create a dashboard. So one click, and I actually can get the dashboard that I could have otherwise created manually myself. And this already gives me a lot of information, rate, errors, durations. But what if I want more? Let's say, what do you think, Larry? Can we ask Agent0 to give us something more?
Yeah, I can ask it to add an extra panel to this dashboard.
Let's try a panel showing me the breakdown by product ID, which was the issues that we were having before with some product IDs being the issue here.
Now you see you came from the dashboard view directly to the new Agent0 thread, and it knows what dashboard you're talking about, right? Because it's part of the context, and then
I can
you
also
can go
click
from
back to it.
you can go back to the dashboard. So for each thread, you know what was the part of the Dash0 product that created the context for that thread.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And then it's asking follow-up questions about your
Yeah,
panel.
this sounds like fun. Notice how Agent0 does not necessarily take bad instructions by at face value, but actually goes and asks you extra if it finds that some information is not sufficient.
Yes.
And first it went and looked at HTTP metrics and it didn't find it. Then it says, okay, can we go and find the product ID on spans? It's even trying to run the queries.
Oh, now it's testing the query. If you click on the query test, you can see the data.
And then it
It's
started building
building.
ProQL and validating
Yeah.
that it actually sounds like useful information.
Then it's validating the purses definition for the new panel. And there is your new panel. You can add it to the original dashboard. You can also add it to another dashboard. At that point, you can choose which dashboard to add it to. It's right there.
Pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It's something that sounds very much science fiction, but it's here. Cool.
It's very convenient how you can ask for what you need from the context that you're looking at, and then get the results back into that screen. So give me dashboards, give me alerts, give me queries.
This is something that in general we want to make a lot of. One of the reasons for Agent0 to exist is to take away meaningless toil from you, the end user. Cool. So what is Agent0 itself? It's a group of agentic AIs, and we have interacted with a few of them so far to remove toil. And when we look at the set of agents, we are, I mean, Larry and I, we said we're nerds, and the names of our agents prove it. So we gave them kind of fantasy names inspired a bit by RPG. And at the moment, you have 5 agents. In the center, you see the seeker. It is the one that was doing root cause analysis for us. The oracle was helping to create Pronkill queries. The artist created us dashboards and panels. The thread weaver we have not shown you, but it's the agent that will allow you to, it allows you today, it helps you understanding large traces, trace analysis
Yeah,
data.
actually, you showed the thread weaver. The first
True,
question about the trace selection was answered by the thread weaver.
true. Forgot about it, thank you. And one that we have not shown you, I'm pretty sure about that this time, is the Pathfinder that helps you onboard more applications onto Terzero. It helps you adding open telemetry to your applications, configuring the sending of the data, and so on. Cool. So let's get to the meat of this webinar. How have we been building Agent0? And what we're going to do is build together an iceberg of topics going from the most easy and approachable ones like which LLM, going down into the murky depths of how we have been building Agent0. So let's get started. Larry, which LLMs do we use?
That's an easy one. Oh, we have been at the moment using mostly the Anthropic LLMs, so the latest cloud models.
And how often do we change them?
Okay, over time, every time there is a new model from cloud, we reevaluate on that, and then we switch to the latest. But then there is also the aspect of using models of different sizes. So you can use a sonnet model or a haiku model, so with um, a smaller number of weights, so you can get quicker answers and cheaper answers for some tasks that are not that complex, that don't require the largest model.
We are going to come back to the topic of how do we pick the right LLM and how do we ensure that the responses are good later in our journeys to the depth when we start talking about evaluations.
Yep.
Is it true, Larry, that Agent0 is just LLMs with a few API calls?
It's actually more complicated than that. As you could see in the demo, there is, first of all, a huge UX integration challenge to make it part of the product in every context in order to structure the information in a way that it understand, and it can also give you structured things to work with, or like dashboards to add and so on. And then It's also not the APIs directly. We don't give the -0 API directly to the agent. We actually have tools that are built on top of the API, and the relation of tool to API endpoint is not one-to-one. And the tools are optimized in their input and output shapes in a way that favors the agent performance for specific tasks.
Yeah, effectively, at Dash0, we shipped a remote NCP server. So it's an NCP server that we host on our infrastructure, and then you can connect to it using the same API tokens that you do for other technical integrations with Dash0. And Agent0 talks to the NCP server through the tools that we expose there. We have the first
Yeah,
question from the audience. Michael asks, the seeker named as AI SRE, would they be able in the future to do SRE-related tasks like connect to Azure and revert to deployment in a PaaS environment? We're looking into that, and we will talk about it when in the last part of the webinar when we talk about the future and what is going on in the future.
yep.
So we'll get back to there. We'll get back there. Yes, remote NCP server. What's next? We're going deeper and deeper here. Yeah, Larry, we have a remote NCP server. Why is it remote?
Well, there is a lot of optimization that we can benefit from, and the fact that it is remote, we can make it more secure and cache a lot of information between requests. It also requires zero setup on your side. If you have your -0 user login or the API token, who can immediately connect either a C-line or Cloud Desktop or Cloud Code directly to -0 and have it interact with your telemetry. And then certain tools that Agent0 has access to are also available through the MCP.
And this provides benefits not only when you want to use your own LLM to talk to Dash0, but also when in the ecosystem, in the industry, there is a certain trend towards agents be able to invoke other NCPs and get information out of it. And we are ready to go from the very beginning. We went with a remote NCP server so that you wouldn't need to expose an implementation of NCP that we would give you and then figure out all the networking and stuff. We host it for you. It has the full capabilities. We take care of it. We make it work really well. And that way, if you have other agents, they can talk to Dash0 really easily. All right, let's get deeper. Let's start talking about how to make sure that Agent0 is good. Larry, how do we deal with making sure that the what Agent0
Yes.
says is fine?
All right. So, well, first of all, we have lots of feedback, both internal and external. We do lots of dog fooding. Like we are the biggest users of Agent0 and the -0 all the time. We need to keep -0 running, and we keep getting feedback from customers, so from our own SRE engineers internally. There is the thumbs up, thumbs down button, but we can talk about that. It's not used very often, right? How often do people actually give a thumbs up, thumbs down to the service that they use? But the core part of quality assurance is the structured evaluations that we run on every small change that we make to Agent0, because there is a huge amount of degrees of freedom, right? And things that you can change in it, and everything matters. So yeah, the evaluations are essential.
In a sense, evaluations are a bit like unit tests, but for LLM output, right?
Yeah, you can think of them as unit tests, so where each evaluation scenario is a different test case, but with the difference that first, the result of a test is not succeeded or failed. It's actually a combination of scores, so how well the model did in that scenario. And you don't need everything to pass. Actually, the ideal evaluation scenario, the evaluation data set is the one where your agent does the best possible in most of it, but it doesn't get the maximum score on everything. Because this way, whenever you introduce changes, you can immediately observe whether those changes brought an improvement or not. If you are already at the level of your highest bar, then you need to raise the bar. You need to create a data set that is harder to tackle.
As a product manager, I very much approve on the fact of never considering the product finished. You always have to raise the bar. Yes. We were actually talking about the evaluations and those thumbs up and thumbs down that you find everywhere, including -0. We tried. We wanted to see what the feedback would be through them. What we've seen is that statistically, the thumbs down, so when something is not good, is drastically overrepresented. When you're mad that the answer was bad, you are very likely to press the thumbs down button, but you are very unlikely to press the thumbs up when it's good. And that makes the thumbs a decent enough data point to go and see where bugs may be, but it doesn't give you a good idea of how it is the product perceived on average. So it's something that we're keeping. It's not the say all and end all of quality assurance for agents. This is very interesting because in social media, the usually are able to say only thumbs up to things. The social dynamics there are a bit different, but yeah, thumbs up don't work for us. Yeah, we actually have some additional content about evaluations itself. So it is about quantifying the impact of change, and it of course allows you to make sure that you do not have regressions in the code, or at least in the output of the LLM. And you want to have a perception of a set of ratings about how the LLM acts. And the interesting thing is that actually it's a different LLM checking the homework of the LLM you're testing. Something that is not so LLM-y is the fact that in evaluations, deal with structured output instead of just text. And maybe, Larry, you can explain us a bit more what structured ground truths are.
Yes, so for a lot of evaluation scenarios, the thing that you're asking for can also it also has a parallel in traditional model evaluation. For example, you're asking it to rank your alerts from the most critical, the less critical, or you're asking it to select the action points for a certain solving a certain incident. Those are classification tasks. Those are ranking tasks. Those are clustering tasks. Or regression tasks. All of those already have evaluation methods very clearly established in data science. So after you get the answer, like text answer from the agent, you request it to put that answer into a schema. So fit it, if it is a classification task, then I'll give you the classes by label, or if it is a ranking task, give you the ranked list, and you can compare them against a ground truth that fits the same schema. You calculate evaluation metrics like precision, recall, also NDCG for ranking tasks.
So in a sense, there are meters of comparison. They're the golden standard to what you want the answer to look like.
Yes.
And there is what Agent0 does is also combining effectively, as you have seen in the demo, Agent0 goes and invokes tools. And these tools are very important also for grounding non-determinism. We'll talk about it later. And you need to check what happens given different types of outputs that the tool could give, right?
Yeah. This is like doing a test in like a university. It's not enough that you provide the correct answer. You need to show how you got there. Or otherwise, I don't trust that you got the answer in a legitimate way. Like, is the agent guessing the answer or not? So for certain tasks, we have the expected steps that would be should be essential for it to gather the information to get to the answer. If you get to the answer without performing those specific tool calls, then it is penalized as well, because it means that the response cannot be grounded. It must have been guessed.
There is actually an interesting set of discussions around, um, for example, one of the aspects of us making Agent0 explainable is the fact that we want to be sure that to give information that makes you trust what you see on screen. There are some hot debates on the floor of KubeCon among the observability people about how agentic AI knows about some types of applications, and in some cases it short circuits actual analysis, and we want to avoid that. So we actually test for are the steps that Agent0 is taking, are they plausible, or is it copying the answer from a note it has in the back pocket?
Exactly.
All right. So speaking about knowledge Agent0 has in the back pocket, Larry, how important it is the fact that Agent0 and the LLMs behind it have a lot of built-in knowledge about OpenTelemetry.
Yeah, so at this point, there is a big synergy between agentic AI and being OpenTelemetry native, because it shortens a lot the way to metric discovery, attribute discovery, so that the agent already knows what to look for because it is familiar with the semantic conventions. When it sees an attribute, it knows what that attribute means. And it's not just about OpenTelemetry, like other open standards, they also help us a lot. So we are based on Perseus, on Bronchial, and this helps the agent already know in advance like what a dashboard definition should look like, or what a alert a monitor definition should look like. So it gets the process right of like writing down those specs that you can click and apply to create a dashboard right away. It gets that right very, very often, all thanks to being based on open standards.
It's I remember back in the days when LLMs were starting being a thing, which feels like 10 years ago by now. Um, there were some query languages out there used in some observability tools that LLMs did not understand. They were not able to produce meaningful output for them. And that's because the amount of information out there was too little. And one of the reasons that PromQL is the one query language of Tercero is because I've been saying all along, even before LLMs were a thing, that if your language doesn't have 1,000 answers on Stack Overflow, it does not exist. And the LLMs agree with me. So relying on open standards, being able to build upon the large amount of knowledge on the internet is super important. Something else that we get in terms of inherent knowledge related with OpenTelemetry is how errors are represented. So not only the LLMs out there are not only trained on OpenTelemetry documentation and examples and Medium blogs and so on, but also on documentation for a whole bunch of different products. That kind of inherent knowledge and the way that it is represented in OpenTelemetry helps Agent0 troubleshoot your issues. It doesn't need to go all the time from first principles. It can rely on product documentation and other things. And we'll talk a bit more about it later on when we start talking about retrieval augmented generation, RAG.
Yeah.
All right, so we were getting deeper. Deeper is colder. Let's talk about non-determinism and temperature. Larry, what is temperature in LLM?
All right. So let's talk about temperature. So conceptually speaking, a temperature is a factor that deforms the probability distribution of the next token. So basically certain completions of the text that would be unlikely become a little more likely. So you start getting answers that feel more diverse or creative. Obviously, if you put the temperature on maximum, you get completely hallucinated responses. If you put the temperature on minimum, then you have close to deterministic responses. They're not completely deterministic because there can be still rounding errors due to precision on the model inference side, and you might still get a different token from time to time. But in reality, it will be close to deterministic as long as the data that the model is seeing is the same. And in reality, that is never the case because time passes, right, between
So
one
you can never
prompt and
cross
the
the same
next.
river twice, right?
Exactly. You can never run the same prompt twice, except in evaluation. Because in evaluation, we simulate the tool calls. So we have this static controlled environment, and we actually cross the same river or prompt twice as many times as we need. But yeah, in a live environment, you will always get different data, so slightly different responses.
Is it correct if I try to describe temperature as a form of entropy in the answers, as a measure of chaos in the answers, would that be correct?
If you're talking about physical entropy and not informational entropy, then
I'm talking
maybe
about
yes.
information entropy. The physical entropy
Oh,
is different. It's a dispersal of energy. Yes.
I'm not sure. That's a philosophical question.
All
That's
right. Barry is asking if we can set the temperature for Agent0, and the answer is no. We actually curate very much the quality of the answers, and as Larry has explained, we actually keep the temperature extremely low because we don't want Agent0 to go and hallucinate things. We want every bit as possible for what Agent0 does and what Agent0 says to be grounded in the deterministic truth of the tools. And
yeah. If
this
we go
actually
on to the
leads us,
next question,
yeah,
yes.
exactly, very neatly on the fine balancing act between determinism and non-determinism. Larry, what do we think about determinism and non-determinism in Agent0?
Yeah. So the obvious disadvantage of determinism, if you have it like almost completely, is that if you get something wrong, then you will consistently get it wrong. So that there is no room for trying the same question again and getting the right answer the next time. But what we suspect is that there must be a sweet spot area, like a range of temperature where the correctness of the solutions doesn't change, but the wording of the or the path to get to the solution may change. So you still get consistently good behavior, but in a way that feels more personal and organic. And we actually have plans to find that sweet spot that can be done through evaluation. If you think of a certain scenario, if you run it instead of just once, you run it multiple times, and then you take all the different scores, so how well the model performed each time. If you are on a good spot of temperature, the variance of those scores should be low. That means that even though the actual answer changes a bit, the quality remains stable.
And there is also a different way that we can take this question. Um, we were saying that before we were talking about tools in the MCP server. And it's still a bit of an art rather than a science, deciding which tools you need in your MCP server to expose to your LLMs. The way that I think of this is that when you go and think about the kind of steps that Agent0 could be taking to solve a question, you break it down in a plan, the same ways that each and every one of us do when troubleshooting things. If the step that you're thinking of sounds suspiciously like math, it's probably a tool. And Agent0 has a lot of these tools coming from Dash0. For example, having triage. It's an incredibly powerful tool. It looks like magic, but in reality is effectively statistical regression analysis at scale. And those are the perfect things to give to an agent to be able to be grounded in truth. So most of the non-determinism is on finding the path towards solving a solution rather than coming up with the answer itself. All right, we're getting really deep. Now, something that LLMs are notorious for is, to some extent, taking data and prompts at face value. I could go as a human and hallucinate about services that do not exist. How does Agent0 deal with this, Larry?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Not only hallucinate, but you can do typos, right? When you type in fast.
I do a lot of them.
I know. So whenever you provide names of services, resources, metrics, anything that you want to talk about in your prompt, Agent0 is going to use the tools in the environment to inspect what are the exact names, the exact IDs of the entities that you want to talk about, except when you provide structured context. So basically, you're looking at traces or you're looking at a dashboard, and you use the command zero shortcut to go to the Agent0 prompt. Then the things that you are looking at, so that the filters, the log ID or the trace ID, the time range, they're going to be turned into structured pieces of context.
Which is what you
Yeah,
see on
exactly.
screen here. This is structured context for Agent0.
Yeah. And this is passed to the model in a way that it is going to trust them at face value because it knows that this is information that came from the front end. It's not something that the user typed themselves.
So it has been grounded in the reality of the Tercero UI and analysis
Exactly.
mechanics. So those Agent0 can rely upon at face value, but if it is information that comes from the user prompt, it's going to double check that it exists,
Exactly.
which is actually a great idea because when naming is one of the hardest things in computer science. And if you have three people in the room, you have five names for the same thing. And then, for example, when you go and ask Agent0 to go and look up information about a specific tag, then you can say, okay, does this tag exist? And if not, you tell, hey, are you sure that this is the tag you're looking for? Maybe you mean that other one. And these are things that with humans, we give for granted. We have, I mean, half of the process of learning is being disappointed in how the world works and finding ways and strategies around it. But LLMs do not really have that. So we kind of built it into the mechanics of Agent0 to go and validate the various steps to make sure, not to have to make up stuff just to appease your not entirely correct questions. So
Yeah.
let's put it at that. So we're talking about context and structured context, and this is super interesting. Um, how, what type of context and structured context do we have in their zero?
Oh, I don't know all of them, but by heart. Uh,
It's many,
we
right?
are we are actually writing those down right now in the documentation and the change log. But there are several pieces of context like filters, time range, a span, trace, log, a document from the knowledge base, like a page from our website. It is also a piece of context. A dashboard, like we have seen before. I don't remember the others now. But the cool thing is that every structured piece of context, it goes both ways, right? So that the user can provide those when asking about something they're looking at in the UI, but when the agent responds, it can also include those in the answer, and that's how it links so conveniently to the dashboard where you want to add your panel to, or the alert that you want to optimize.
One of the so we have a whole bunch of principles that we follow by in the process of building Dash0. And one of them is everything is connected. In Dash0, you can jump from traces to associated logs to resources to metrics. And Agent0 is very much part of that connecting tissue. If it talks to you about something that exists, a conceptual entity in Dash0, it will try to make it linkable to you. We have seen when interacting with Agent0, for example, let's see, here, it was looking about the metrics and it shows you which one they are. Before, it was looking for the product catalog service. In this case, it actually took it as ground truth from the dashboard. But in one of the prompts we did before, it was double checking that Agent0 exists and that the product catalog service exists. And then you can click on it and see information about it. So the having actually structured context not only provides us with Agent0 with a better quality of answers because it helps it not hallucinate anything, but it also provides you jump boards to actually continue the analysis, better understand the analysis, and effectively bring along your knowledge and skills that you have in operating the Zero itself. In general, Larry, what do we use today to manage context?
Manage context. All right. The full context window of the model is composed by the different tools that it can call, the system prompt that we have for each of the personas. And then there is, besides the user messages and the tool calls, the tool results, so we have some metadata about your session. So what is your time, or is your time zone, what organization are you in at Agent0, or what data set are you working on, and then come obviously the structured context that you're bringing from the UI.
And you were talking about system and user prompts. What are those?
Yes. So the more basic question, the system prompt is defined on our side. We optimize it for each of the agent personas. So if you think of the artist, the thread weaver, the pathfinder, each of them has a slightly different system prompt that is optimized for the use cases of that persona. And the user prompt is what you type into the chat at each iteration, and the structured context also comes in as part of your user prompt.
So effectively, we have the kind of input that Agent0 gets is actually a lot of different things. Some of them is effectively parameters, the structured context that you can add by interacting with Agent0 on your way to asking questions. There is a certain amount of instructions that is built in the way that we characterize the agents. And then whatever you ask as a question, that is what is known as user prompt. And all of that is evaluated together to get to the answer. All right. So how do we find, we can do system prompts, we can do tools. How do we decide which one is which?
All right, so basically information that is dynamic, so based on the state of your environment, must come from the tools. But the information that is static, like previous knowledge about the available metrics, or also instructions that go in the system prompt. But there is not always true. There is one exception. Like imagine that for each of the agent personas, there are several use cases within that domain that we want to optimize for. If we start adding instructions for each use case on the system prompt, then the system prompt grows very large, and that may cause the model to have a more limited context window. It becomes slower to process, more expensive. We actually have an optimization a strategy to avoid bloating the system prompt with instructions, and that's the next thing we're going to
You're
talk
talking
about.
about skills.
Skills, exactly. So skills, I love it. It's a very useful thing. So imagine that you're talking to the artist and you wanted to optimize a certain alert to make it less verbose, less noisy. There are certain behavior that we expect for this very common, important use case, and that is to look up the alert, to look up the details when it has been alerting lately, or what services and metrics it references, then come up with a query, validate the query, come up with a new alert definition. All those steps are very clear for this use case, so we kind of pre-package those instructions within a skill. So I can think of a skill as a prepackaged behavior, but we don't put that in the system prompt. We just leave it on the side, and whenever the agent feels that it is time to optimize an alert, or the user is asking them to optimize an alert, then they can look up the instructions for that skill, and that connects very well the model attention, like from the instructions to the task. It follows closely the skills and the instructions, and it gets the results right every time. Skills are very
We saw that,
useful.
right? With
That
we saw that when creating the panel, right?
exactly that. Yeah, it used a specific skill for that. This allows us to have very predictable behavior for some expected use cases. I don't know where we don't want it to get it wrong. We don't want it to reinvent the wheel on that use case. We want it to follow the rule book, the run book for that.
Exactly. Shall we say that skills in their zeros like pre-flight checklists of stuff that you prepare before you take off, right? And then the
Yeah.
agent follows them pretty much to the letter, and that improves the consistency and the quality of the output, as well as enabling Agent0 to do really non-trivial things, because the amount of steps that AI and also we as people perform implicitly when creating panels, it's actually not trivial when you think about it. And then
Yeah.
Agent0 through a skill can effectively deploy this kind of pre-made workflows and just play through them and get to a desired outcome in a predictable fashion. All right, let's go even deeper. Sub-agents, Larry.
Mm. Yeah, that's agents is very interesting. So there are some nasty use cases where maybe you're talking to the main agent, the SRE, but you ask such a complex request that it has to break that down into different tasks that are necessary to come up to the final outcome. And each of those tasks belong in a different domain. So it needs to look at traces to identify a bottleneck, and then write an optimized query for that, and then create a dashboard for that, and you want everything. Then what the SRE agent can do is trigger a conversation between itself and one of the other personas, or multiple personas at the same time. So parallel conversations. And those personas are going to carry out the instructions given by their main or parent agents. And in the end, the SR agent gets the final result of each of the tasks that it delegated, and based on that, it does the final result. This is extremely useful also for reducing the mental overhead or the context overhead in the main agent, because it doesn't see every single step, every detail of the solution of each task. It only sees what was the final outcome. So it's like you're asking a bunch of junior engineers to do something each, and in the end you only get the reports, and then you build your final report with that. You don't need
As a
to.
product person, as a product manager, I very much sympathize with sub-agents. Say, hey, I want that feature, and they involve 50 different people to make it happen.
Yeah,
Also,
yeah,
there
but
is
you don't micromanage the sub
no,
agents,
no.
right?
You set the
Then
goals
you
and then you let people loose, right? And then if
exactly.
it works, you do not care how. And we spoke before about skills, and now we're talking about sub-agents. They are not the same thing. Like for a skill, the agent that executes the skill needs to follow every single step and be aware of all of it. Effectively, having sub-agents allows you to delegate all the context and knowledge and the steps to a kind of a parallel process. You do the work there and you just care about the output. And we have been doing that in our industry for forever with, for example, microservices. It's effectively division of labor at an agentic level so that we can better cope, provide better answers, reduce in some cases costs, but also being able to keep specializing and improving the single agents because they have different prompts, and being able for one agent to rely on the knowledge and capabilities of other agents allows us to evolve them in parallel and make them and make the final result, the ensemble, better than what we could be able to code into just one agent. All right. Oh, encoding. This is going to be hot. So, Larry,
Yeah.
I read so much on LinkedIn about every week there is the new best and the final way of passing information to agents. Uh, what's what?
Yeah, there is this competition right now on who can write those complex payloads in the most compact way. But yeah, we started with the MCP server and an Agent0 way before that trend, and we tried with different formats initially. We discarded JSON because too many tokens. We discarded XML because even more tokens, even though some people say that Claude is trained on a lot of XML, but we didn't see a performance that paid off for the
Which
amount
hurts
of
me because
tokens.
I'm still an XML person at heart. I want my XSDs back.
All right. Um, and then what else? Then we went with YML for a while because YML is pretty neat. And it's not as verbose as JSON. But then we didn't want to keep repeating column names all the time. So if you give Agent0 a list of metrics, where every metric has a name, a unit, a type, a description, then with YML, every block has those four field names, right? And we didn't want to keep repeating that. So we went to markdown tables for a while. They're good because you only write the column names once. You don't keep repeating them with every row. It preserves very well the model attention, so you can tie
There
the
is infinite
column.
markdown out there on which the models are trained anyhow.
Exactly. And with respect to the MCP server, like when you are running on client or cloud desktop, and you get the two results from the MCP server, the markdown tables render very nicely in your UI, so that's user friendly as well. But at some point, we started also moving from markdown tables to the Toon format, which is new. Toon is very compact, and it solves the problem that markdown tables don't support nested content. So if you have a cell that needs columns within it, I mean, it's a table of its own, it doesn't solve that problem very well. And with Toon, we are able to achieve that.
Let me actually find if I find an example of tune on the fly because I didn't have the presence of mind to adding it in the slides. And here we go. So it's suspiciously, it reminds me also of TOML a bit, which
Kind
means
of.
we might have a flame war in the chat about which configuration format is better. Yeah, there is a lot of, this is still, it feels like a field where we have not gotten to the best possible outcome yet. And it's pretty exciting to see after a significant amount of stagnation about formats. Now, as an industry, we found a new way to create new ways of showing text, which is,
Exactly.
it's exactly what we like to do, right? What are you doing if not another encoding? All right, so we were talking about encoding, and we have been talking before about inherent knowledge inside the LLMs, and we spoke about the many ways that we pass instructions to the agent. But that's not enough. LLMs do not have all the knowledge. They're not trained on all the content. There is always, with LLMs, there is the so-called knowledge cutoff. That is the last point in time at which resources that the LLM was trained on have been fetched. And the world moves much faster than what LLMs are retrained. So we do RAG. Larry, what do
Yes.
we RAG on? What is RAG?
Yes, so basically, if you think of the Dash0 website, our integrations guide, our blog post, everything, every public document about Dash0, all of those we embed them. So we will give them vector representations, and we will save them in a database. And then at any point, if Agent0 needs to answer some factual question about Dash0 or about OpenTelemetry, it can write a query of what it is looking for. Like it can write down, look for pricing, how much does Dash0 costs, what is the retention time, and then send that query to the vector database to get relevant chunks of web pages that probably have the answer for that question or that are related to the query. With that, it can fetch up-to-date information about Agent0, about OpenTelemetry, about everything that you have on the website.
But we do not let the agent rag on everything out there. I mean, you don't want to go and rag on Twitter, right? Or
No.
some particular Reddit, subreddits. That's
No.
fingers off. So what do we let Agent0 retrieve?
Yeah, it is the Agent0 website integration guide, blog posts. Actually, we started at some point writing our own content in a way that is optimized not just for humans, but thinking that okay, LLMs might read this.
It's very interesting because now it's occasionally complicated to motivate engineers to write documentation. But now they can conceptualize it as literally building features because the
Exactly.
better documentation you write, the better Agent0 works. And as a product manager, I love it. I love all of it.
Exactly. It will be interesting when Agent0 finds the documentation about itself.
And then it has a crisis of conscience. Is someone's prompt? I hope not. I hope not. All right, let's talk about surprises, like Agent0 learning about itself. What was the biggest surprise you had in building Agent0?
There were highs and lows, and one this one not pleasant surprise was that sometimes the model is very stubborn. Sometimes it is too confident about something that was already in its training, and then it doesn't want to look up. It's like when you say, when you're completely lost going somewhere, but you say, no, I'm not going to look on Google Maps, I know the way. And sometimes it does things like that, and we try to enforce skill lookup. So we improve the rec content, we improve instructions, we try to figure out what's going on. And then one other interesting surprise, like when we use the agent like locally without the guardrails on, we managed to get feedback from it, like feedback for us on how to build it better. Like if someone sends to us a thread that says where Agent0 seems to have failed to solve a specific issue, and then I reproduce the exact same thread in my environment or with the same message history, the same tool calls, and then I ask, hey, you didn't do very well here. Can you point me out to what could have been different? What tools you tell me what I should do to help you,
What can
help
we do to
me,
help you? Help us help you.
help us, help you, no, help us, help you, help us,
Help them. Help
help them.
you, help
Yeah,
us, help you, help them. Yes,
exactly. And it's such an interesting thing to do. It works surprisingly well.
that's cool. The about surprises, I I have many more surprises because now with Agent0, I find out that my product can do way more than I knew it can. And it is cool, but sometimes a bit terrifying. Like I didn't know it could do these things. Why didn't I know? And it's as long as what it does is correct, it's really cool.
Yes. People are saying it's time to wrap up, is it?
Alrighty, then we're going to speed up. Larry, in 2 words, what are the biggest constraints preventing us from making Agent0 super awesome?
2 words. Time and people.
We will get there. It's just a matter of time. We just need more
Yeah,
of
we
it. We
have
launched Agent0 in November at KubeCon. We have been developing it actually for, I think, what is it, almost a year by now, right? Yeah, more or less. It's we're not stopping, and this is actually next on Sagio, which was entirely unplanned, I have to say. With what is the future? What are we going to do next? And since we need to go a bit faster, then um, let's go and let's go and do it. So, first of all, Larry, I understand we want to have the agent build to-do lists, right?
yes. Yeah, I would want for some tasks, it makes sense for the agent to come up with prerequisites to get there, or prerequisites that the user themselves has asked, and then checkbox those. It would make it comfortable for users as well to feel how's the progress going.
What about the data sources? Now, we have been talking about the many different pieces of information that Agent0 acts upon. We have spoken about system prompt, user prompt, structured context, RAG. Um, we also have said that we actually limit the amount of places that we let Agent0 access. Because like if we let it go on Reddit, who knows what will start answering you. But there is a large amount of actually well curated and reliable and not unprofessional sources of knowledge out there that we're looking at. For example, we're thinking of allowing Agent0 through the -0 operator to talk with the Kubernetes API in your clusters to look up on-demand information for troubleshooting that you are not already packaging as telemetry. Most of the times, for example, there is a whole lot of metrics from the Kubernetes API which are pretty useless. You're not looking at them unless you have to. So why not doing that on demand through Agent0? Others that we're thinking of is, for example, linear and ticketing systems. If there is chatter in linear about somebody having to go and modify the service to do some things, that can be pretty good clues for Agent0 to go and sniff around if that is the reason for failure, right? And we have many more ideas like that. The next thing another thing we're going to look at is we want Agent0 to be everywhere in the UI. In the demo, you have seen that I could go and interact with the tracing view, select data, ask Agent0 to explain me things. You can go to spans and ask Agent0 to explain you things. You can go in traces and ask Agent0 to explain you things. And the explanations right now, they bring you to the Agent0 threads. But actually, we are experimenting with embedding the threads alongside the pages that you're already looking at so that you are not taken out of context. Context is important not only for Agent0, but for humans as well. Oh, this is something that excites me a lot. Larry, what do we mean by proactive Agent0?
Yeah, so basically nowadays Agent0 will talk to you when you talk to it, right? But the conversation doesn't really need to be started by a human. It could be started by some event, by for example, a check rule failing, a change having been deployed, anything, or just something that happens from time to time. And the agent could act on it like even when you're not looking. So basically solving problems on its own. And you can always come back to the thread later, see what has happened, what has Agent0 been solving for you in the meantime.
The way one of the obvious use cases for me is you start getting notifications on Slack that something is going wrong, and the analysis of Agent0 comes unprompted directly to your Slack notifications, but say, hey, there is an update. I think it's that. And that is information that you may not have encoded in your check rules, and Agent0 will go and figure it out for you. Michael asks, it would be nice if the Agent0 UI box in the tracer logs be larger and not blended into the rest of the UI. Sometimes it can be difficult to find the box on some pages. Yeah, that is what you're seeing is just the very first version. We are redesigning how that works to make it blended everywhere in the UI because effectively Agent0 needs to be everywhere in their zero. And not only Agent0 needs to be everywhere in their zero, but Agent0 is going to be very useful from the outside as well. So, Larry, what do we think about agents? Like, how can we consume Agent0 outside of their zero?
Yeah, so there is this new protocol from Google, the A2A or agent to agent protocol, in which agents between different platforms can invoke each other or start an interaction with each other and then ask for some task to be carried out or check on the progress of the task later on. So it's kind of similar to the sub-agents that we have internally, but between completely different environments. So you could have, for example, Cloud Code on your machine, asking something from Agent0 or the other way around. Yeah, the sky's the limit.
There is also the fact that we want to put Agent0 everywhere in the Agent0 UI, but that is by far not the only place where you as a person are going to interact with Agent0. We're working on effectively a Slack bot, and later on we'll do Teams. And if somebody finds a good reason to make another platform after that, if Google comes up with the 15th different messaging service, we'll talk about that. So that you wouldn't need to go and necessarily log into Tercero to have all the insights that Tercero can give you. Sometimes
Exactly.
also getting taken out of the context of your chat and thread where you're debugging with your colleagues and be taken out into another tool that can hurt your investigation. So we want to make sure that the information is available at your tooltips wherever you are. Not only that, but I also believe that agentic AI is probably the best way of delivering insights on the small form factor of mobile and small screens as well. Moreover, there is the aspect of narration. So when if you think about observability tools, like we have been having them for the last 30 years, you log into them, you see a lot of different numbers, charts, pixels going in all directions, colors everywhere. And that takes a significant amount of time for you as a human to parse and make sense out of it. Agentic AI with the conversational approach actually goes to the narration aspect of it. The best way that I can explain it is the following. We have a joke in the observability circles where we say, that million logs could have been a metric. What we want to get to is that dashboard could have been a telegram, a very short textual representation where everything you need to know, where you can look up additional information on demand. All right, so we also spoke about agents talking to each other. That is the A to E protocol. And yeah, we made it. We made it to the end, folks. We also ran out of time 7 minutes ago. So if you stuck around, thank you for that. Sorry for going long, but we're having a good time. And we
Yes.
hope you had a good time as well. If you have questions, you know where to find us in Slack, on LinkedIn. You want to try it, Agent0 is for free in Dash0 as long as it is in beta. You can just create an account. In Dash0, you have 14 days trial, no questions asked. You can send all the data you want and have an incredible amount of fun figuring out what's going on with Agent0.
You can also have fun trying it out with the Open Telemetry demo data, even before you send your own data. Or you can have Agent0 help you start sending your own data.
Exactly. Go and talk to the Pathfinder. It will help you bring your
Exactly.
applications online. Cool. Thank you, Larry, for the chat. It
Thank
was lovely.
you.
And
See
folks,
you.
have a great day. Bye.
Bye bye.